Welcome to Gemarah on the Daf Shir sponsor Lui Nishma San V'Akashom Le'Abbas Yitzchok. We're holding Metzia Daf Yotes. There's interesting here on the style of the language of the Gemarah on Daf Yotes on base. If you go through the Gemarah, it's clear to anybody who's used to learning Gemarah that the Gemarah is written in a different version, a different nusach. It's not the same normal language of the Gemarah. It's a much longer arichus. The Gemara repeats itself a few times and says things in a much longer lashon. What's the pshat in this? How do we understand this? So the Ritva and other Rishonim point out that this part of the Gemara was written by Rav Yehuda Goyen. It was added to the Gemara by Rav Yehuda Goyen, and the Ritva says Va'arichus halashon meichiach halov. The very long language proves it. The Maritz Chayes and the Tzadik Ches Amud Aleph says that this Masechta Bava Metzia Yesh harbe hoisafois shem Rav Yehuda Goyen. A lot of additions to the Gemara from Rav Yehuda Goyen. And he says, you go through the Masechta, you'll see the Ritva and the Shidduch Mekubet says, many places there's additions that he added to the Gemara. What pshat that he's adding additions to the Gemara? Just to point out, there is a very long discussion that the researchers had a problem with. When exactly was Chasimas Gemara? When did the Gemara end? Who ended, who completed the Gemara? If you look at the Sefer Doiris Rishonim of Yehuda Halevi, he has a very long arichus on the scene with the Gemara. And one thing he proves is that there was not a specific time where that was the end of the Gemara. You know, even though it says Ravina Rav Ashi Sefer Yirah, it doesn't mean that by Ravina Rav Ashi the Gemara was finished. Ravina Rav Ashi was the main parts of the Gemara were finished. But then there was additions that came out from later generations that added a little bit to the Gemara, added more. And throughout not only the generation of after Ravina Rav Ashi, but the entire Rabbanon Sabaroi. What is the generation called Rabbanon Sabaroi? Rabbanon Sabaroi are between the Gemarah and the Goinim. What did they do? They came in, they edited the Gemarah. They took the Gemarah, they added some additions, they put some conclusions, and they finished up the main piece that was done by Ravina Rav Ashi, they added to it. My uncle, Rab Ari Bergman, researched this extensively and wrote a whole piece on this. And his conclusion is, and there's many rayas to it, that like many other works the Chazal have, there is the main part, and then around the main part there's additions that go into it. The same way you have the Mishnah, and around the Mishnah you have the Gemarah, to come to explain the Mishnah. The Gemarah itself has some different layers to it. There is the main Gemarah that starts from the earlier generations, then around it is the later generations, and then there's other additions that came into it, that came to complete the Gemarah. So when we speak about Chasimas HaTalmud, the Chasimas HaTalmud goes throughout many generations. This is a very big topic for the researchers, which is not the none of this year, but just to point out that in this Gemarah, and Metzia Daf Yotes with base, you see clearly an addition to the Gemarah that was not part of the Gemarah, and the Rishonim really tell us that was added by Yehuda Goyen. Anyone who wants to join the Shomachshava email list, what's it called? Please email shomachshava@gmail.com.